Seriously, Bud is brought to you by OmniSend. OmniSend is a top choice for email and SMS marketing on WordPress, perfect for WooCommerce shops. Easily connect with customers and send out awesome campaigns every day. We'll be back in a bit to tell you about our other friendly sponsors. Hello, my name is Bree, and welcome to Seriously, Bud, a podcast featuring an unexpected conversation with someone from the WordPress community. And now it's time for our host, my dad, Bud Kraus.
Thank you, Bree. You know, I had so much fun last week speaking with Kevin McGillivray. I thought I would do this all over again. Now, don't forget, you can subscribe to Seriously, Bud wherever you get your podcasts, and that way you will never miss an episode. Now, I'll be back at the end to give you my thoughts about this week's episode. It's number 106, so here we go. AmyJune Hineline, welcome to Seriously, Bud. I was just wondering, how do we know each other? We do know each other, right? Yes, we do.
We do know each other. And I was just talking to someone yesterday about how I couldn't remember the exact details of how we met, but it's through the WordPress community or through accessibility. I can't remember which came first.
You know, did we attend some online thing during COVID and that's where we met? I think
Probably.
You were speaking at something and I said,
Yeah, that was
I think that's what it is, but who knows what, right? And we have met each other. We met each other at least once that I can recall.
In Washington, D.C. once.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, do you remember me? And you're like, yes, I remember you. And I was like, wow, okay.
I remember everybody. Almost. Okay. And are you going to WordCamp Europe by any chance?
No, I'm not. No.
We don't talk too much about work, but I have to talk a little bit because you really come out of the Drupal world as much as anything, right? Are you still involved with Drupal?
I am, but not in the work capacity. I still go to events and help with code and stuff like that. I'm on the community working group, conflict resolution team and stuff like that. But I actually work for the Linux Foundation now, and I work on open source exams and certifications. So I'm more into cloud native computing foundation stuff and emerging technologies and things like that. Yeah, lots of.
And you don't know how to turn up the microphone on your own computer. Jeez, oh man. Here's a woman. Look I know how accomplished you are, and she doesn't know how to turn on the microphone. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I don't write the exams. I get other people to write the exams. So I don't have to be the smart one. I just know a lot of smart people.
That's so funny that you say that because I think the same thing about me. I'm not really smart, but if there's anything that I'm smart about is I know a lot of smart people.
Yeah, you're supposed to fill the room with people smarter than you, right?
Oh, that's easy. That's not hard. That's pretty simple to do. Now, in case there's somebody out there who doesn't know what Drupal is, because I don't think we've ever mentioned Drupal on the 104 episodes or whatever. What is Drupal?
So Drupal is a content management system, much like WordPress, but a little bit more dynamic. Everything comes in core, where WordPress, you have plugins and extensions, where Drupal is more under the hood. And then the plugins and extension are all open source. We don't have any closed source stuff. So that makes it a little different. But it's more for like bigger websites that have like multi-site capabilities or that have a ton of data that they just want displayed differently. So it's just like WordPress, but maybe on steroids.
I've dabbled in it a little bit, but I've never really, I don't have time to dabble as much as I'd like.
It's still PHP. So
yeah. More stuff I don't know. Okay. So now I don't want to go down the work stuff anymore. I go in and out here. This is like a regular conversation. There's no script, obviously. But tell me about what you were like as a kid. Did you have friends?
As a kid?
I didn't.
I did have kids.
No.
Sorry.
We'll get there.
I grew up on a farm in rural Sonoma County and had friends and had the goats and the chickens and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, pretty modest lifestyle up there compared to living in a city and stuff like that. But I couldn't wait to escape, though. I was like, I don't have anything to do with it.
Oh, really? That's so interesting.
And then now our goal is to move back there and have a farm. But I couldn't wait to get out of there when I was a kid. I was like,
I would think farm land is pretty pricey in Sonoma. Yes. Yeah. I can only imagine what it costs.
Yeah.
Now, to me, it seems like everybody wants to either live in Sonoma or wish they worked for Sonoma, and you couldn't wait to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't like wine or something? Is that?
No, I'm more rural than Sonoma, even up like by Petaluma and Sebastopol. But I liked punk rock and I liked the city and I like just having more people around me and not having to clean up animal poop. I went to school in the East Bay and that was my escape until I did other things. But Berkeley.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, nice.
So I should know where it is, I should know where I'm going because I'm going to be staying in El Cerrito.
Oh, I have a friend in El Cerrito. Yeah. It's a nice place. Yeah. And I don't think it'll be raining tomorrow. So you're in luck with the weather. It's been pouring.
And you probably know that the eucalyptus trees at a certain time of the year there, maybe it's this time of the year, boy, they smell so good.
That was our tree of choice where we lived because
Really?
it was a good privacy blocker and wind blocker. So we grew up with the eucalyptus trees and cutting them down every few years because they get too tall for the roots and stuff
Love
like
them.
that.
Yeah.
And collecting all the little acorns
And you know who lives in that area too is Julia Gallup.
Yeah, that's what you told me. I wasn't
Yes, she
aware
does.
until you told me a few weeks
I
ago.
am really good at WordPress geography. I can tell you where everybody lived, where they went to school, what they were like. And it's like a lot of them were introverts. Would you say you were an introvert?
No, but I didn't talk a lot. And people took that as being an introvert. And maybe saving all those spoons as a kid helps me do my job now because I'm definitely an extrovert now. So maybe I didn't waste that extrovertness out on farm kids.
You had to commute every day from way up there to way down to East Bay?
No, I actually, this is a curious story. No,
that's what we want. Curious stories. That's what we're here for. Give it up.
I moved out of my parents' place into a place in Santa Rosa and had an apartment that I shared. And I commuted to the East Bay once a week, but stayed in my Volkswagen van in someone's driveway for 3 days and then went back.
Wow.
Because back then gas was a huge 98 cents a gallon. I couldn't afford to go back 3 days a week. And I couldn't afford a place in Berkeley, but I still had chores and stuff to do in Sonoma County. So I just did the Volkswagen van thing. But I would go into my friend's house and take a shower and stuff like that. So it wasn't a completely dirty living or anything, but it was fun. It was fun. Made me appreciate tight spaces.
Do you play any instruments?
I do. Do I play them well?
No.
So back here we have a trumpet and a couple of violins, and we have some guitars over there on the wall. But I play the trombone and the French horn in middle school band.
I got a good one for you. Now, you probably don't know her. I'm so full of this stuff now. But Sandra Kurtze from Grade.
No, I don't know.
She's in Munich, Germany, and she plays flugelhorn. How about that?
Seriously, bud?
Oh, very good. Yeah, she does. It's a very interesting instrument.
Yeah, so our kid plays the bassoon, which I thought was pretty interesting, but this tops it.
Yeah, it's used in these German Oompa bands, which she's in one of those.
That's fun.
So, yeah, it's kind of cool. No, I like that stuff. I like all kinds of music, so it doesn't matter to me. But you were into punk music at one time.
I'm still into punk music. Yeah, punk rock's my favorite.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Why is that?
One,
you grew up in that time.
Well, that, and as I got older, you know that I can't hear out of one of the holes in my face. And so I can still feel the music, right? And it's loud, so you can hear it. And the lyrics resonate because I'm always a little bit angry at what's going on in the world. And they're all still my age, which is nice. So you go to a show and it's not like a bunch of young kids getting in your way. It's all people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And so that's fun too. But no, I don't know why it's my favorite music, but it always has been.
Like you say, it's this anger. It's got an anger rock to it.
Yeah.
Have you always had a hearing issue?
No, I lost my hearing, I believe, the first year of the pandemic.
Really? So recent?
Yeah.
So you're saying, or it's because of COVID?
No, it's not COVID, but I had scar tissue on my ear and I went to the doctor to get it fixed and they scraped off all the eardrum and then they put a piece of paper on there and the piece of paper is supposed to promote your skin to grow over it and dissolve. I have a tendency to hold my sneezes in, which you weren't supposed to do. So I held my sneeze in and it popped the eardrum. And now the scar tissue is stiff. so the ear doesn't vibrate. So, but I'm not going to go get it done again because it was outside of medical insurance and it cost a lot of money. And there's someone, I can't remember, I think his name is Jamie Shields on LinkedIn. He has this saying that society has disabled us. And so I'm like, I'm okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Because you and I are sort of, we, I don't know, it's kind of funny in a certain kind of way. In fact, in your honor, the way it worked out, the headphones I'm using right now, I can only hear out of one ear, which is just so appropriate for you. Now you know what it feels like, bud.
Yeah.
And I get it. I'm actually experiencing it, and it would bother me quite a bit. And it would probably make me angry. I'm sure that happens from time to time.
Like my first...
This is a new thing for you. This is new.
So, and because it happened during the pandemic, captions weren't a great thing on Zoom back then, especially for technical words. But out of the pandemic, the shelter in place, we now have great ways that our computers help us when we're online. So I'm like looking at the bright side of COVID. All these technologies are helping people like me anyway with the hearing stuff. My first conference back in person after I lost my hearing was very complicated because I was hungry. I didn't know a whole lot of people and I couldn't hear. So I ended up freaking out a little bit and crying until someone helped me out. But I was just so overwhelmed because there's a lot of noise in the room. And you'd think that would be, I just couldn't zone in on people, right? Because right now we're doing the one-on-one where there's only one person talking and then the filters in the computer, only one person really can talk. But in real life, you've got 4 or 5 people talking. I'm just doing the continual what?
Yes, I get it. Because as an older person, somebody said I was elderly.
Oh,
please. I said, please. He didn't know you don't use that word. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I have noticed the older I get, when I go to noisy places, I can't really hear. I can hear, but a lot of times I have to say, what? And I realize, hey, when you were 17, you weren't doing that. It affects everything, I know. But what is one of the harder things to do? And when you answer that question, is there anything that you think that you've gotten out of this that's a plus?
So it's easier for me to ignore things now.
That's good.
We'll do a weird thing where it zones in on something, like our refrigerator. It'll zone in on the refrigerator, and then I can't hear anything else. Or what happens is there's certain voices that I can't tune into either, like just their pitch or they're real soft, and sometimes accents because I can't read the lips as well as I'd like to because maybe the way they pronounce things are a little bit different.
So are you telling me to take my fingers away from my lips?
No, because I have captions on.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
And how well do you read lips?
Hey there. We'll get back to the show in just a moment. Seriously, Bud is made possible by Pressable. They make managed WordPress hosting simple. Your sites load fast, stay online, and you get 24/7 expert support from people who actually know their stuff. No downtime drama, no endless tech headaches, just hosting that works. Whether you've got one site or hundreds, Pressable keeps things smooth and secure so you can focus on your business. Check them out at pressable.com/BUD. And finally, by the WP.world, a great way to see who's in the WP world and what they are up to. Find out at the WP.world. That's right, it's the WP.world. And let others know what you're up to, too. Now, let's get back to the show.
Not very well at all, but it helps reinforce things. If I miss what someone says and I can't do the audio processing, I can look at the lips and be able to know if it's one word versus a different word, right? But a lot of it is smiling and nodding.
What's interesting, I'm sure you've seen this, which is technology. Assistive technology is technology which bridges the gap between what we once had and what we have now in a way. So it makes it possible for us to comprehend what is going on. And that's why it's just so important. As they say, it makes things possible for me or for you. It makes things better for everybody else. I'm not saying anything really. But I will say one other thing that I've noticed, and maybe you have too, about AI. It is breaking down, I think, the barriers or the concept of a file format, because everything now is transmutable. Your image file can be a text. Your text file now can be an image. Your audio can be a text. A text can be an audio. I'm losing sort of the sense of file formats being in their own silos. It's all starting to like blur because of AI. And I think that's good for me, probably maybe for you too.
Yeah, it is. I rely on like my phone's of technology. Sometimes I'll have someone speak into the phone and do voice to text, especially if they have one of those voices I can't hear. And then also doing that for people that I'm talking to that are hard of hearing and deaf, having that be a space that all of us can feel safe using our phones and having them out in conversation. And because sometimes when you have your phone out, people look at you funny, like you're paying attention to what's on your phone. So I have to be like, oh, I'm using this to help me hear your words. So, yeah.
Yeah, of course, because people don't know and they think maybe you're just being rude or something like that.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Or if I'm at an event and I'm looking at my computer because I'm having the sound come in, they think I'm working or something like that. And it's like, no, I'm just using this thing to help me hear you. So,
have you been to any events or any speaking things where they want you to speak because you have a hearing issue?
No. I think I was a public speaker long before that. So I don't know specifically if I've been asked to
but
do
that's
something
coming
for that. But I do work at the Linux Foundation, and something that just happened after the shelter in place at the Linux events like KubeCon or Open Source Summit is they have ASL interpreters now for people, and they have where you can log on to your computer, and while people are talking into the microphone, it displays either a refreshable braille or captions on your computer. I work with a working group that works on that sort of bridging the technology. But yeah, this first conference I've ever been to where I saw ASL to help include more people, right? Because the majority of deaf people don't go to those kinds of things because it's too overwhelming and what are they going to get out of it? And they don't see people like them. And so I'm really proud of that for my organization. It wasn't because of me. It was just because we have a need coming out of things to invite more people into our spaces.
Have you done any teaching?
So that's a loose word, maybe. So I do a lot of trainings, like one-off trainings and things like that. And then I used to teach Sunday school for the youth group. Yeah. So and then I homeschooled my kids when they were younger. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to that in a second. I once taught at Pratt Institute in New York City, and I taught web design. And I once had a student who was a very bright guy, very good designer, totally deaf. Is there such a thing as totally deaf? It's like totally blind. Not really. It's a spectrum. Yeah. But he really couldn't hear me, so he brought in an interpreter. And me and my stupidity, he said, I wrote all this stuff on the screen. Why doesn't he read it on the screen? You know why? Because he can't understand it. He doesn't have language.
Right.
In order to read that, you have to hear it in your ear, and he can't do that. And that's when I started to understand, American Sign Language really is a language. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not completely translatable. Yeah.
Okay, now the kids. All right, what do you have? You homeschool the kids. Why did you choose to homeschool the kids?
Because in my flight of wanting to get away from the farm, I moved to a city, and then I had kids, and then we wanted to raise the kids where it was a little less city. So we moved up to Lapine, Oregon, where there was nothing but snow and volcanic rock.
Yeah.
And I had a little tiny 1957 bug. And the school was like down a hill, and at any moment in time, it would snow. I talked to the school, and they're like, because you can't guarantee that your kids are going to come in every day, we can't have them.
So that started homeschooling.
Yes. And then I just liked it. I worked night shift. I was a nurse in a previous life. So I would work night shift and then come home and homeschool them. And then we moved back to California, and they went into public school at that point. They were a little older. One was 12 and one was 8. And that was a good time because the older boy was getting into stuff that I couldn't necessarily teach them anymore because they learned math different, that Common Core back then. I don't know how they're doing it now, but they were changing the way they taught math and I wasn't teaching it and all that kind of stuff. And I loved homeschooling my kids. Do you want to learn about flowers today? Woohoo, we're going to the park. And you just have to be creative, right? And I just love children a lot too.
I have learned that homeschooling is a lot more prevalent than I thought before I started ever doing these podcasts. It turns out a lot of people have homeschooled their children. Yeah. And I've learned the pros and cons. Yes, there are, but I would have never done it. My kids wanted to get away from me. So how are you going to homeschool kids? I can't wait to leave you.
But I had them at the fun age. I couldn't imagine homeschooling a teenager. One of my kids got sick one year, but he was only in the 4th grade and he was home for about 3 months. And then he got expelled from school in high school for a dumb reason that we don't need to go into. And he didn't do anything wrong, basically. But I had to homeschool him then too. And boy, was that rough. He did not like that.
Do we know or do you know if homeschool children do better in either life or in higher education or any feeling for this? I don't know.
I think it's also different. The kids are so different too. And the people homeschool their kids for different reasons. I found that the older boy, he thought way outside the box than his classmates in the 6th and 7th grade because he didn't learn in the traditional way. He didn't sit with just a book. He was outside doing things. He was learning by practical. How did he learn chemistry? We cooked. You know what I mean? Everything for me was wasn't an effort because I just made it a life lesson. Oh, you want to learn chemistry? Let's bake a cake because that's chemistry, right? That's fractions. That's all that. Because I don't have time to teach and bake a cake.
Yes. Yeah. And when I think about it, because I have 2 grandsons and they're 5 and 3, and they do go every day to preschool, but we are always teaching them. What is this? What is that? How much is this? How much is that? What do you do? And they're so damn smart because they are in a constant learning, not just me and my wife, but their parents and other grandparents. It's a very nurturing educational environment, which is producing 2 very smart little boys. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that's the only way that kids get smart, but you can see what a difference between getting attention and nourishment compared to being ignored.
Right. Just like in college, right? Community college, you have a classroom of 30 people for your 101 classes. You go to UC Berkeley in a 101 class and there's 400 people. You really you have to question that sort of thing too. Like when the classroom rates get higher too, it's oh, geez. I couldn't imagine having a classroom of 30, 13-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. Be interesting. Now, did you go to college? I assume
I did. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And did you finish? Because not everybody finishes.
Yeah. So I have several degrees in different things as life progressed and changed.
Tell me.
I went to UC Berkeley and did mechanical engineering. And then when I graduated, I basically used my degree as toilet paper. So I went back to school for nursing.
That's expensive toilet paper.
I know. But it was a very misogynistic environment and I wasn't quite used to that. And I was just
now,
I
when
don't
was
do
this? When were you at Berkeley?
92, 93.
Really?
Yeah, 93, 94. And then I graduated and I was just working and I wasn't doing anything practical. And I'd rather work with my heart than my brain. And I had put myself through school by being a certified nursing assistant. And so I went back to the nursing home and they had this program where they would pay for you to go to college, get practicals. Like a lot of it was not college at that point. It was just doing it through the nursing home. So I was a practical nurse or a vocational nurse. And when I moved up to Oregon, I was able to use that. But when I moved back to California in 2002, they're like, oh, we can't do that anymore. You have to go back to school and get an actual degree. So I went to San Jose State because I was living in Hollister, got my degree. And then I thought I got fired from something. I'm like, oh, I want to work in human resources. So I went back to school and got communications degrees. But then I met Drupal.
Keep going.
I met Drupal and I don't use any of that stuff anymore.
So when are you going to decide what you're going to do? Should you decide to grow up one day?
Okay, so I think I know what I want to do, but it's going to take a couple years. I want to be a rabbit farmer.
I almost thought you were going to say I want to be a rabbi, but I just don't picture it being a rabbi.
No, a rabbit farmer.
A rabbit farmer?
Yep.
Okay. What's that all about?
Well, okay, so rabbit. Yeah, so rabbit is, I'm mostly vegetarian. But rabbits are very sustainable meat. So one rabbit, you can have the meat, you can have the pelt, you can have the 4 rabbits' feet, and then you can have the skull to sell to artists to paint on, like Day of the Dead kind of stuff. So for one rabbit, you can get $50 wholesale. And you know what they say about rabbits? There'll be a ton of them.
Yes, they multiply, right? Be fruitful and multiply.
But think about the sustainable farming thing. You know what I mean? You can sell the manure. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of things you can do with this rabbit.
Oh,
and they'd be free range and they'd be fun. I wouldn't have a petting farm or anything like that. But yeah.
But don't animals attack them though? If you grew them?
Yeah, there's some kinks I have to work out. But that's what I think I want to do when I grow up. I'm glad you asked.
Good to know. I have to ask you, what about chickens? Can you raise chickens?
I've had chickens before and I've had chickens as an adult, but I don't like them as much.
Because they're messy?
They get bugs and you know what I mean? And they're not as smart. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind having the eggs and stuff like that, but I've already done that. But I've raised rabbits before too, not on the scale I want to do now. But so it's something that I know what I'm setting myself up for.
I've always wanted to raise chickens for some reason, but everybody says, no, you don't.
Depending on where you are. We had it when we lived in suburbia, and get this story. So we lived behind a Kentucky Fried Chicken in Capitola, and we had these chickens, and we could hear kids in the parking lot being like, they grow the chickens here?
Right, yes. It's how convenient.
Thing. And then my chickens had to smell the other chickens getting cooked. And I wonder what they thought of that.
Oh, this is my future. Yeah. Now, we had friends in Pacifica, and there was a chicken running loose in the neighborhood, which I was fascinated by. And I was told you could just raise chickens just about anywhere.
When I lived in Hollister, there'd be there's wild chickens that escaped and just lived on the street. But we had chickens when we lived in Oregon, and we mistakenly did not realize that, because coming from California, it's very mild here. We didn't realize you had to have a heater on for your chickens. And so one day they just all didn't make it.
We're in Oregon? Oregon?
La Pine, which is up above Bend, so central.
Okay, I was going to say, where's that in relation to Bend?
Yeah, we were like 5,900 feet, though. So Bend was probably really nice, but where we lived, it was just like, not snow. And I remember when we moved there, it was like around the time of 4th of July, and I was outside talking to a neighbor, and I'm like, what is this? Is this soot from fireworks? And he looks at me and goes, that's no, AmyJune. And I was like, what? It's July.
That's in the Cascades, right? Is that where that is? In the Cascades?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to fact check here.
The Cascades, I passed through on a train ride, and it was in the early spring, and it was filled with snow. It was gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the foothills of the Cascades. So you probably went through Chemalt and Klamath Falls and things like that.
Probably.
Yeah, we took that train ride so often because I couldn't drive in the snow, and I had family in California, and we would just take the Amtrak all the way down.
I did a trip around the country, and then
fun.
Part of it was right through Oregon, and I stayed in Portland. So before I forget, I don't want to forget this. Your name, I'm sure I've asked you this before. How'd you get this name? Oh, somebody forgot to put a little space in between because it's one word.
That is one word. I'm the youngest of quite a few kids, and all of us have double names. But mine is beloved. So Amy means beloved, and June means beloved in Farsi. So that's how I got the name.
Is that June is beloved in Farsi? What about Amy? Is that beloved in what?
In English, I believe. Gaelic, maybe. I'm not sure exactly.
Beloved.
Yep.
How many siblings do you have?
I'm the youngest of 7.
Okay. Okay. That's as far as we're going to go. I know you're getting nervous. 7 kids.
Yeah.
Were you all close or not really? It depends.
There's lots of family dynamics. Yeah. We were and we aren't and we can be and all that kind of stuff. Sibling relationships are complicated.
Oh, I have one and I can only imagine. Now, what about your parents? What did they do?
Farm.
That's it.
Farm. Yeah. I was actually raised by my grandparents. So my granddad actually went back to work when he inherited all of us kids. And he worked for Pacific Gas and Electric working on sustainable energy in the late 70s, early 80s. So he did things like at our farm, like experimenting with GO-Bar power plants. He got all the cow poop and tried to harness the methane if that was going to be sustainable.
Oh, yes, that was a big winner. That worked out really well.
People would come to our house and be like, what's that smell? I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't even want to know.
Did he raise all of you? Or?
No, he raised the last half of us. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. And what else do I want to ask you? Anything you want to tell me? Because I've run out of questions, which never happened.
I'm not sure. I gave you my rabbit scheme. I hope no one steals that idea.
Okay. Forget about the rabbit first. So really you want to do rabbits? You're technologically... You don't want to do it anymore.
Well, that, and I think I'm a Luddite by heart.
Ooh, now you tell us.
I know, right?
It's a little late in the day to tell us this.
So I'm one of those that
Luddite.
I'd go for a walk without my phone. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's, oh, shoot, I didn't bring my phone on a trip. I don't have anything to tell me how to get to where I want to go. But I think working in it turns you off a little bit, maybe sometimes.
I'm starting to feel maybe a little bit of that too. I've done this already. Another WordCamp, another this, another that. I'm changing I really only want to go to WordCamp Europe now. It's just because it's fun and The other ones are, and how many times do you have to go to WordCamp US? And all this stuff is changing so much. And I don't know about you, but I think in my case, I feel like AI is making me dumber. I know there's this term de-skilling.
Yeah.
And coming up with this term reskilling. And I think there's part of that too. That is, I'm being reskilled.
Mm-hmm.
I can do a lot of things now that I couldn't do before.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I do for the Linux Foundation when I create these exams and stuff is we're letting people like, I don't think certifications are your final destination. They're a checkpoint in your journey. You challenge yourself to learn the stuff. And then the AI, I don't like the way environmental and ethics of some of it is, but I do appreciate that you can hone your skills a little bit more and you can spend more time learning and you can spend more time doing what you like. It takes me an hour sometimes to do an email because I have to check my tone before coffee and after coffee, where now I can run that through and be like, hey, can you make this sound like I'm a happy person?
There's so many examples of how I'm sure you use it. I use it. One example would be, let's say I want to talk to somebody about, you're pitching something, right? And normally you would spend like days researching and then whatever. Now you go to AI, you say, give me 5 points that I should pitch about. And
Yeah.
Does it make you stupid? Does it make us what? It's transforming us. Let's just say that. It's changing us. No question.
Yeah. It's definitely, like I said, like a time saver because when I have to research something, I could be researching how to fix the carburetor in my car, but all of a sudden I'm reading about how to paint flowers on the side of a barn. You know what I mean? That's where my bumper car brain goes, where now those bullet points are produced and I can just work on those bullet points.
So here's the difference between the Google era and the AI era, so to speak, which is in the Google era, you'd look at, you have your SERPs, right? You might go, oh, this is more interesting than what I was thinking of. So you go that way. With using ChatGPT, which I do, I know I'm not supposed to say that. I should use Claude. I get it. All right, enough.
I don't use Claude.
What do you use?
For work, I have to use Gemini because my stuff is protected. But for other things, I use ChatGPT because they're the friendliest. And they argue with me and they tell me I need to go take a nap. And I love that.
Mine always says, great question, bud. That's all you ever have to say is great question, bud. Good observation, bud. I wish once in a while I would say, dummy, how many times do we have to go over this? Really? Because like I'll ask again and again the same thing. And it just never says, I'm getting tired of answering you. Pay attention. It doesn't say stuff like that. It's nice. All right, enough of all this. Look, we got to go. This is long enough. You tell me. I need to take a nap. So I don't know about you, but I need to take a nap. And you probably don't. Do you ever take a nap, by the way?
I am today. I woke up with a cold and I'm supposed to go on a work retreat next week. And so I told,
where you go?
We're going to Utah at Snowbird. So
nice.
Trapped with 400 of my coworkers in snow. But it's a week away and I get to meet people I don't normally interact with because I'm a team of one. So it's always nice.
Who funds the Linux Foundation? I would think it's everybody.
Everybody. Yeah. But we get a lot of work done at the retreats. I get connections. I meet more smart people to build exams for me. So,
and is it a really great community like the WordPress community, or it's very different?
It's different. This is work, right? Like when you go to the Linux events, it's very different too. Even from Open Source Summit to KubeCon, it's just different people, right? It's like we're not as niche, right? You know how you have to figure out what you want to talk to people about, where I find like if I go to WordPress events or Drupal events, it's, I can start with, do you do WordPress? And see what they say.
Right. Well, yeah. What do you do with WordPress?
Yeah.
We're off to the races. Yeah.
But so I woke up with a cold. And so I think I really am. I'm going to take one of those hot Theraflus and put some honey in it. And I think I'm going to take a nap. I know it's only 10:45, but.
That's right. Oh, but who cares?
Yeah.
No one knows. No one's listening. Is napping part of your daily?
Not typically, no, unless it happens accidentally. I have issues sleeping. So if I nap during the day, it's going to be even harder to fall asleep at night.
I don't think I could exist without at least like 10 minutes.
Take me to the movie house and start watching a $15 movie, and that will put me to sleep, though.
Oh, absolutely. All right. We have come to that point in the show. I thought we'd never get there, but you're too much fun to talk to. So we've come to that point in the show where I ask you, who do you suggest I have on a future episode of Seriously, Bud?
I'm not sure if they've been on the episode. I didn't do my homework, but I would say Miriam Goldman.
I don't know. Tell me.
Okay. So I met her. She's one of the first people I met at my first not my first WordCamp event, but my first WordCamp up in Canada. And I was working for Canopy Studios and I met them. And actually, I met them online through Jill Binder because I was interested in doing those inclusive speaker workshops. And Miriam was my mentor. And then I met her in person up in, I think, Ottawa. She's very dynamic.
Stop right there. Okay, stop. Ottawa. Tell me that's not the most boring Canadian city. I guess that's an oxymoron. Oh, it's okay.
I mean, it's not as fun as Vancouver, but
the Canadians agree with me. It's the most boring Canadian city in the history of the planet. Okay, so she lives in
Ottawa. Yeah.
Does she have a good story?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I like her a lot. And like I said, like I actually recruited her to work for Canopy because I liked her so much. Yeah.
I'm surprised I don't know her. I don't even think I've ever heard of her, which doesn't mean anything.
I think if you heard her voice, you would know who it was.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I think she works for one of the larger hosting companies now.
Which would be?
I do not like to say their name out loud, but they're a major
you'll tell me
hosting
later.
company.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. All right. Fair enough.
Vendor neutral.
I will cut all this out.
Okay.
AmyJune, hey, say thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, I didn't know that AmyJune grew up in a farm in rural Sonoma County, California, and couldn't wait to escape. But now she wants to move back to a farm there and raise rabbits, loves punk music, is a closet Luddite, if that's possible. And while she was attending Berkeley, she lived in a VW van for 3 days every week, but she took showers at a friend's house. Did you? Until next time, thank you for your time.